Star Wars Jedi Survivor is Respawn Entertainment's latest major game and a sequel to the critically acclaimed Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. With the release date just around the corner, there are a few facts and pieces of information you should know before we all get our hands on the game. So first up is of course the release date of the game. Jedi Survivor is now going to be released on April the 28th, as it was delayed 6 weeks from March 17th, so that the development team could concentrate on enhancing the performance, stability, polish, and most importantly, the player experience. That basically means there are a few technical and perhaps visual bugs still to iron out, but nothing too major. Let's hope when April 28th rolls around, the game performs well and has no obvious technical issues, which seems to be a more common thing amongst even the biggest games that get released these days. Jedi Survivor is also going to be released on the current generation, so no need to call it the next generation anymore. So that means it's going to be released on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S, Xbox Series X, and of course PC. So if you don't have one of those and you're still on previous generation consoles, you're going to want to upgrade to be able to play this game. Cameron Monaghan is once again reprising his role as Cal Kestis, but this time around he's less of a Padawan and more of a Jedi Knight. The interesting thing around Cal not only being played by Cameron but also being modelled on him as well could mean that we may even end up seeing Cal Kestis in live action Star Wars projects in the near future. Now don't you think that would be rather awesome? So what's new in Jedi Survivor besides the story, which we're going to get onto in just a minute? Well, Cal is going to get some new additions to his Jedi combat styles. As you may have seen from the trailers released so far, game director Stig Asmussen said in an interview with Game Informer that Jedi Survivor will feature 5 fully realised fighting stances for Cal, and amongst these we're going to see a slower, heavier stance with a Kylo Ren inspired crossguard lightsaber, along with a new dual wielding stance with 2 lightsabers. So it sounds like we can switch it up depending on what enemies we're facing and which one suits our playstyle. And Cal is also going to have the addition of a blaster to his arsenal, and Asmussen mentioned one combat style where Cal wields this new blaster alongside his saber, so it sounds like we don't have to always be up close and personal with our enemies if you prefer to fight further away. We've also seen from the trailer and extended gameplay trailer that Cal is going to have some new traversal options when he's out exploring Jedi Survivor's new locations. First up, we're going to get a grappling hook like ascension cable which will allow him to climb up cliffs and zip across gaps, and not only that, but will also have the ability to tame wildlife. So this means Cal can befriend an alien creature and use them as a mount so he can travel across the ground quicker on a lizard looking creature, as well as hang glide from area to area on some space pterodactyls, both of which are pretty neat additions if you ask me. We're also going to gain the skills to some new force powers. How many is still an unknown, but from the gameplay IGN posted recently and the cinematic trailer, we can see a new force power that allows us to lift enemies into the air, which could also leave them vulnerable to other force attacks, like the force push, so we can chain 2 in 1. So hopefully we're going to get some other force powers in addition to the force lift. I don't know about you, but I'd love to get the Jedi mind trick included as well. Are there any other force powers you'd love to see added into Jedi Survivor? So let's talk about some enemies that we're going to be facing in the game. We will be seeing a good chunk of enemies returning from Jedi Fallen Order, but equally we are going to be doing battle against new enemies as well. Who doesn't want that, right? And first of all, it looks like we're going to be seeing a mix of Imperial and Clone War enemies. There's going to be a few fan favourite droids from the prequel eras making an appearance in the game, most notably the battle droids. Now, these droids are dim-witted, so I wouldn't expect much of a challenge here, but we could have a bit of difficulty facing a few others, especially the droidkas, or as they're more commonly known, destroyer droids. You know the ones, those pesky droids from the prequel which roll around and have a bubble shell protecting them. So yeah, there will also be B1 droids, B2 droids, BX droids, Magna Guards, shield troopers, sentry droids, and security droids enforcers, to name a few extra as well. And as well as those, it looks like Cal will be being pursued by bounty hunters once again, and it looks like the character from the Bacta tank could well be one of those, and perhaps the main villain of the game overall. All the while, there appears to be an Imperial senator lurking in the background who could be pulling all of the strings, and it appears they have Cal's lightsaber, so expect some sort of confrontation with the Powern diplomat at some point in the story, I'm guessing. The events of Jedi Survivor are said to be taking place 5 years after the events of its predecessor, Jedi Fallen Order. In the latest installment, Cal must stay one step ahead of the Empire's constant pursuit, as he will almost certainly be feeling the weight of being one of the last remaining Jedi in the galaxy. It does make you wonder, with it being set 5 years in the future, what happened in the 5 years following Jedi Fallen Order. And I wonder if we're going to get some flashbacks during the game, similar to flashbacks in Fallen Order, where Cal was learning some new Force abilities from his master. Just a quick heads up folks, from here on there's going to be some spoilers from Jedi Fallen Order, so if you don't want those, I'd suggest coming back to this video once you've finished that game. So anyhow, if you remember from the end of Jedi Fallen Order, Cal has an intense showdown with none other than Darth Vader, and he barely managed to escape this with his life. And he also then had to make an incredibly tough choice about using the holocron data or destroying it. And if you can't quite remember what data was on the holocron, it contains the locations of all Force-sensitive children throughout the galaxy, which would eventually lead to the Jedi Order being able to be rebuilt. But of course, this data in the hands of the Empire would be bad. Very, very bad. In the end, Cal decided to destroy this data and then asked, so where now? Which of course means the plot for Jedi Survivor could go in one of many directions. But one thing's for sure now is that Cal is a Jedi Knight and he must explore his Force powers to better control his visions and of course his urges to the dark side. We don't want another Anakin Skywalker situation on our hands. And that leads on to Seri, who's also a Jedi, so there'll likely be some part of the plot involving her and her deciding whether or not she should take up arms alongside Cal and fight against the Empire as one of the last remaining Jedi, or if she should spend her life in hiding. Hopefully it's the former. What we do know from the trailers is that Cal and Co are on the run from the Empire, and having narrowly escaped the clutches of Darth Vader, they're now exploring other areas of the galaxy whilst looking over their shoulders at each and every turn, just in case the Empire once again show up. And let's be honest, they probably will. From the first teaser trailer, we see that Cal's, or at least we assume it's Cal's, lightsaber in a desk, which could mean we may end up spending some part of the story with one lightsaber or no lightsabers, which is how Cal gets his hands on a new blaster. There may be some missions early on in the game to get it back or hunt down another one, because of course we do need one, and we do see a lot of Cal using dual lightsabers in the extended gameplay. So he's obviously got them from somewhere. But equally, that could be before he loses them, you never know. We also see a currently unknown character who Cal is setting free from a Bacta tank, and it appears that this character is also narrating the cinematic trailer. So the big question is whether or not this character is good or bad, and if they're bad, are they going to be the main villain of the game? Either way, the story will seemingly heavily involve this new character in some form or another. And that is everything you need to know about Star Wars Jedi Survivor before the game releases, including some facts about the game and some information surrounding potential plot points. The game is now just around the corner, and I don't know about you, but I cannot wait until it's released. And if you're still here, it would be totally awesome if you could support my channel by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. Thank you for watching, and catch you in the next video.